Hello everybody, Al Slavin here, and want to welcome you to my channel, and I want to tell you about my latest video that I've come up with, the how to paint this moonlight scene right here. And it's a limited palette painting using just 5 colors, and we use some of those colors to combine and make another color. And it's a fairly simple design and composition, but I'm emphasizing values and light in here. And when you're using a limited palette, you're creating a mood, kind of a cohesiveness to the whole painting, and it can be a way to express emotions and maybe some poetry into the painting. So this is what we're going through, or we're going to talk about today. The colors that I used for this particular piece are burnt umber and ivory black combined, a dark blue, kind of a smoky blue that's made from alizarin crimson and phthalo green combined together. When you add white to it, boom, it pops out to a nice beautiful blue. Alizarin crimson, which is a cooler red as compared to like a cadmium or cadmium light or a quinacridone. It happens to be red, and it's a little bit darker and cooler than some of the other reds. I used yellow ochre for my my yellow, and then titanium white for my my value changer. In most paintings, white is not a color; it's a value changer. So in this particular case, it is a color, but it's also a value changer, and what makes a huge difference in how we create values in our painting. So the burnt umber and ivory black, I mix that half and half, and what it does, it takes the edge off of that burnt umber. If you get too brown, it's too much. There's not a lot of brown in nature. What you see is warm grays. When sunlight is hitting a dark gray or something, it turns warm, and the perception is brown. We want to stay away from that brownish look. It does have its uses, but once you understand it, it's better to use it that way. But in the meantime, muting it back and creating it dark is what I was going for this particular piece. The dark blue, which is the phthalo green, and the alizarin crimson, is what I call the mother color. And that color is throughout this painting. All the darks you see, including in the sky, all of that is coming from that one combined color, which I call the mother color. So all the values stem from that. The phthalo green is used up. It's a very strong green. I'm using it up in the foreground mainly. It's not really back anywhere else. It's just up front because I needed to pull your eye forward, and it needed to have a richness to it. So the phthalo green provides that richness. Now you got to be careful, because phthalo can really get away from you quickly. It can be garish, it can pop out, it can be too much, too chemical looking. So you add a little red to it, knock it back, maybe a little umber to it, knock it down, control it that way. The alizarin crimson is beautiful red. Love using alizarin crimson, but you've got to be careful with it too, because it can get very bright. Comparatively with these colors, you can get these pink tones, but you can get like bright pink too very quickly. So you've got to be able to understand and control that color. The yellow ochre is it's the warmest color in the entire palette, and of course, it provides the warmth all through here. Now the yellow ochre I'm using is from Rublev, which is a very fine paint, pure pigment. There's no fillers in this thing, so it's a little bit grainy to a point, but when you add medium to this paint, it smooths it out. But it's not too bright. Within this piece here, if I were to use a cadmium yellow or something, it would just pop off that. It'd pop off that painting like crazy. So I've got my yellow, my red, and my blue, and then my dark. And then, you know, with the burnt umber and the black combined with a little bit of the mother color, you've got a whole range of darks that you can go from almost black looking, say here, all the way back to, you know, light blue. So it's a good range, got a good range of colors. So that's the palette. I would go through the process of preparing the canvas, which providing putting a tooth coat on the canvas is part of the technique, and then of course the paint, mixing the paint, putting the medium in the paint. I'm using a black oil. This is it's a homemade medium, and what it is, it's a combination of linseed oil and lead, litharge, and it's boiled, it's heated up to where it cooks together and it turns dark. Now it's it's fairly liquidy until you add a little beeswax to it. So there's a little beeswax in here as well. So it maintains a thick body like our paint. It doesn't thin it out. Not really, maybe just a touch, but barely. So we're keeping the paint to the body that's in the tube and not thinning it out. I don't use any thinners, any solvents. There are mediums used in it like liquid and poppy seed, which is after it dries. But we try to keep the body of the paint thick, all right? And we spread it thinly. And then the medium, this black oil medium, helps dry it out thoroughly. So, and the beauty of it is it's dry within about a day or less. 12 hours, 15 hours, maybe, depending on atmospheric conditions. But it's great stuff. And from that point, we talk about the sketch. We designed this, kept it simple for instructional purposes. We could have gotten really complex with this composition, but I thought it was too much. You know, an instructional video needs to cover the basics. The intent of this video is to talk about values, how they change, and then lighting, how to use lighting to create emotion, poetry, those kinds of things, to get the emotion into your painting, and then connect with the viewer that same way. After this, we will go into how to oil out as your paint dries. Especially with this black oil in there, it dries quickly and the colors tend to sink, so it becomes a matte finish and actually colorless. It just looks like a dark that's just gone colorless. We oil that out, show you how to do that, bring the colors back, and then I'll show you how to go back in and detail on dried paint. And then from that point, we're done, and then we varnish. And there are varnishes out there that you can use. I use Gamblin. Gamblin has Gamvar, which is a varnish that continues to allow the painting to oxidize. It allows it to breathe, essentially, while still protecting it. So it's really good stuff. When the painting is dried to the touch, you can apply the Gamvar varnish. It's good stuff. So it's from beginning to end, and a lot of knowledge in between. So it's full of content. It is my first video, so there's a learning curve here. There's quite a bit of learning, but I can guarantee you the content within this video will help you tremendously. It's kind of that stuff that you learn over 20 or 25 years, and so I'm condensing it down for you. Anyway, my name is Al Slavin, and I appreciate you being here, and let's go paint. So we're going to start off by doing canvas preparation, which we're going to apply a tooth coat to the surface of this canvas, and it's a fairly easy way to do it, and it gives you good control over your paint. Then we're going to get into the mixing of the paint, creating the blue, which is made with two different colors we combine together, and it gives a nice smoky blue. and we're going to add our medium into that. Well, this smoky blue, this combination of two basic colors gives you a nice blue. It's phthalo green and alizarin crimson, and we call that the mother color, and that'll be used throughout the entire painting as the cohesive binder to it all, the visual binder. And so we're using phthalo green and alizarin crimson, and then we're going to have just alizarin by itself. Now, if you'll see up here, we place the paint in, it's in a logical method here. I go from light to dark, right to left, and I always set the palette up that way. Alizarin will be the red. We have yellow ochre, which might take a little bit more medium than the alizarin crimson or the mother color. Now, as we're mixing this medium into the paint takes on kind of a shine. It gets a kind of a richness and a glossiness to it. Well, we take it and we place it on the palette as well, and get ready for, it just sits there actually, and the medium starts drying that paint. Now it'll form a crust over it, which is great. You just peel it up and you pull out and you continue using it. So a logical pattern to what we're doing here. This phthalo green right here that we're mixing is just a little bit of medium. It's pretty thin as it is, but we use some of that for the grass. What I'm doing here is I'm taking some burnt umber and ivory black and mixing that together as a preparation, creating just a dark is what it is. And it's the ivory black kind of cuts that brown a little bit, which is much more realistic than using straight burnt umber. Now I'm using titanium white with this and a little bit of medium. The titanium white is Old Holland. It's just a deliciously rich and creamy white. And we mix medium in, place it to the side, and that will round out the palette part of this. It sets the whole stage. Now I'm using a piece of glass with a like a number 4 value painted underneath it, so that gray tone allows me to see the colors better. Now what I'd like to do is show you, and we're going to go through this in a much more detailed process, but we're going to do a quick value study of all these paints that are in here. So we got the dark, the mother color, and we're going to start with that mother color right now and start doing just a quick value study to give you an idea of what colors come from that. Now just look at that blue. Just a beautiful smoky blue, and that is going to be our night color. It's going to be our base for all the other colors, and it'll give it a kind of a stylized nighttime scene because it's a little brighter than it would be in normal life. Now, in comparison here, you can see the phthalo green that we're putting in here, how bright that is. This is a color that can get away from you quickly. So I will show you how to control that green and where to use it and how to use it in the painting. The alizarin crimson, same way. Super rich, super bright. As you can see, we've gone through the yellow ochre. We're doing the dark brown right now. And this gives you an idea of the range of colors that you have. Now, I was taking these colors, we've got the red, yellow, and blue. Well, we've taken some of the yellow and the brown mixed together, and then added some phthalo to it to give it some like greenish grays. This gives you an idea of the different types of greens that you can have with just this limited palette. So we will cover that as well as we go through the painting. Each green has its own use, and then there are reasons why we use it. And we add a little mother color to it, get a little richer green there, and always add white to get a little bit of a range of the color that you can get with these mixtures. Okay, so we've got everything but an orange added. Oh, we're doing a purple now. So we're mixing the blue and the red and creating a purple. So, and then we will go into yellow and red and create an orange. Now this is all from those 3-4 basic colors, and there's quite a range of values and colors within these 4 basics. And you can do many paintings this way. You don't have to have 6 or 7, 8, 10 different colors to create a painting. Now here we're kind of showing you a little bit about the painting technique. We've put a tooth coat on the canvas and now we're painting into it. And the way that tooth coat works is it grabs that paint and holds it. Now you can blend, you can slightly change, but when you place it on there, that paint stays where you put it. Now we're spreading it thin. We're keeping the body of the paint thick. We're not thinning it down with anything else. No solvents, no mediums, except what I put for the black oil that I put in there initially. So we're just taking it and I'm just working the blending out here, and we will show how to do that. Now here's a little trick that I've come up with about creating a moon. Boom, there it is. And you can start seeing the glow through the painting. Now working the clouds in, there's a technique for doing that, and keeping them soft, keeping them blended into the sky. And then as we progress forward, we're the next layer, and then into the water here, which is going to reflect the sky. As we're doing this, when you're reflecting skies down into the water, they have to mimic what's above it. And first we lay a gray tone down, and we go from dark to light. But this will show a progression in how we paint this in there and blend it. And then we just continue working through the painting. You can see different layers here forming, and then we'll get into what we call oiling out. Now this is a process by reawakening the colors, because as these paints dry, they start sinking in. They lose their color, they get matte finished, and they just kind of become lifeless. Well, we go through here and we do an oiling out, which revitalizes the colors, shows us our true values, and then we can, from that point, come in and start detailing. Like here, we're detailing on the water and trying to get that effect of the light skipping off those little ripples. We continue on, and there's quite a bit. This is just this is another base coat essentially, and this is the finished product. And there's quite a lot to learn and go through this entire painting, but this is what you can end up with.